Those who have experienced the commencement of university are well aware that it is a period brimming with anticipation and yearning. Ordinarily, everyone embarks on this new journey with exuberant joy, not only actively engaging in diverse activities, but also assiduously adapting to the novel environment. However, scarcely a few days after the start of my sophomore year, I was summoned to the counselor's office and informed of the news that my family had arranged for my withdrawal from school. When I was initially admitted to university, my family exultantly hosted a 10-table banquet to celebrate the fact that I was the sole college student in the Lee family. Now this sudden and unexpected turn of events is truly bewildering. Student Li Feng, are you truly resolved to withdraw from school? Should there be an urgent matter at home, the teacher can grant you leave. The counselor knitted his brows tightly and regarded me with profound concern, being deeply perplexed by this incomprehensible decision of my family. Indeed, I was admitted to one of the top-tier institutions in the country, which countless individuals aspire to but rarely achieve. Yet in my case, it is merely a casual pronouncement of withdraw from school. I forcefully suppressed the irritation within me and stated, "Counselor, I have no intention of withdrawing from school. Could you kindly inform me who in my family called you?" The person claimed to be your mother, yet the voice sounded remarkably youthful. A young female? The only person in my family who meets this criterion is my newly married sister-in-law. However, my sister-in-law has always been extremely solicitous towards me, inquiring about my well-being and often taking the initiative to purchase clothes for me. From time to time, she sends some food to the school in my memory. She has been extremely kind to me. It appears that I need to request a leave of absence and return home personally to investigate the matter. I requested a 1-month leave, and the counselor approved it with great alacrity, fearing that I might truly make the ill-advised decision of withdrawing from school. After briefly packing my luggage, I set off on my homeward journey without notifying anyone in my family. By the time I arrived home, it was already evening. Standing at the doorstep, I could hear the laughter and conversation emanating from within the house. With a click, I turned the door lock and pushed the door open. What came into view was my mother having a meal in the corner. She was seated on a small stool, and in front of her was a tall stool with a backrest, on which there was only a bowl of shredded radish and half a bowl of half-eaten white rice. Such a simple setup constituted my mother's dining arrangement and supper. On the other side, my brother and sister-in-law were sitting in the spacious and brightly lit living room, with 3 dishes and 1 soup on the dining table. Their smiles froze instantaneously upon seeing me. My sister-in-law was the first to regain her composure. She stood up and her face was once again adorned with a beaming smile as she said, "Feng, why didn't you give us a heads up before coming back?" It seemed as if it were my fault. I closed the door and looked at my mother, asking, "What on earth is going on here?" At this moment my brother, who had been sitting idly, finally stood up and said, Huan is pregnant." As soon as the words were uttered, my sister-in-law Wang casually placed her hand on her belly and wore a perfectly timed happy smile on her face. And I merely felt a tingling sensation on my scalp. What on earth is the connection between being pregnant and my mother not being able to eat at the table? So what? Will my mother eating at the table impede the development of the fetus? Feng, don't blame your brother and sister-in-law. It is said online that the aura of the elderly can affect the development of the fetus, and Mom volunteered to sit here. At this moment, my elderly mother rose from that small stool and began to defend my brother and sister-in-law. Then what about the shredded radish? The expenses for raising a child in the future will be substantial, and Mom is trying to save as much as possible. So arranging for me to withdraw from school is to save even my university tuition? As soon as I said this, I noticed a fleeting look of panic on Wang's face. Before Wang could open her mouth to defend herself, I pulled my suitcase and walked directly into my room, locking the door firmly. Subsequently, I pressed my ear against the door and surreptitiously eavesdropped. In the living room, my mother asked, "Just now Feng mentioned withdrawing from school. What's going on? Didn't you say you were going to apply to their counselor for a grant to reduce tuition?" Upon hearing my mother's questioning, I secretly rejoiced in my heart. Fortunately, my mother was not so muddle-headed yet. "Mom, what's the use of Feng, a girl studying so much?" This was my brother's voice, but I vividly remember that when I was admitted to university, my brother was the most elated. He didn't perform well in his studies and only obtained a junior college diploma, so he had a deep yearning for university. Yet, now such antiquated remarks actually emerged from his mouth. It seems that Wang has been whispering in his ear a great deal. After that, the voices gradually subsided, as if there were some words that were not convenient for me to hear. I sat back on the bed, and a sense of unease welled up within me. I wondered what kind of honeyed words Wang was going to pour into my mother's ears again. Early the next morning, Wang knocked on my door and said, "Feng, come out for breakfast. You didn't have dinner yesterday. Don't let your body suffer from hunger." I couldn't remain locked in the room indefinitely, so I opened the door to see what tricks Wang Wan was going to play this time. As I walked towards the dining table, I saw my favorite steamed buns, siba, and a large pot of steaming 8 treasure porridge. My mother and brother were also seated at the table, and the small stool in the corner was nowhere to be seen. As soon as I sat down, Wang Wan picked up the bowl and spoon to serve the porridge. I remained silent, thinking that she would surely serve it to my mother. However, the bowl filled with porridge was placed in front of me. I raised my eyebrows and moved the porridge in front of my mother, saying, "Mom, eat it while it's hot." The next second, Wang Wan actually knelt down straight in front of me with a thud. "Feng, are you still bearing a grudge against your sister-in-law? I know you're resentful about withdrawing from school, but I'm also doing this for the sake of our family." Before I could say a word, this drama-loving sister-in-law started acting on her own. I finally realized that this was not an apology breakfast at all. It was clearly a family hungman banquet, morally blackmailing me here. Before I could speak, my mother hastily got up to help Wang Wan up. My brother also chimed in on the side. "Li Feng, can't you be more sensible? Your sister-in-law is pregnant. Indeed, my precious grandson must not encounter any mishaps." My mother was anxiously stomping her feet on the side, but Wang Wan just refused to get up and insisted on waiting for my forgiveness. I stood up and looked at my mother with profound disappointment, saying, "Mom, didn't you often tell me before that girls should study more and change their fate through knowledge? Feng, your sister-in-law had a long talk with me last night. Mom thinks what she said is reasonable. Look, there are so many college students nowadays. Your sister-in-law's cousin has graduated from college for a year and is still living off her parents at home, unable to find a job. You are a girl, and Mom doesn't want you to endure excessive hardships if you withdraw from school and return home. Mom and your sister-in-law will arrange an excellent marriage for you." Very well so. The voices that were suddenly lowered last night were plotting this. They not only wish for me to withdraw from school, but also eagerly anticipate marrying me off as soon as possible, using the betrothal gift money to subsidize the family, while justifying it by claiming they don't want me to suffer. And that cousin of Wang Wan, what, living off parents? She is clearly preparing for the civil servant exam at home, and her parents wholeheartedly support her. Looking at my mother, who was still chattering ceaselessly, I suddenly felt that she had become so unfamiliar. "Mom, please stop talking, it's all my fault." My sister-in-law, who had been kneeling all this time, interrupted my mother's words at this moment. I surmised she was afraid that my mother would expose all her schemes. I forcefully suppressed the anger in my heart. Now is not the time to have a direct confrontation with them 3 against 1. I will inevitably be at a disadvantage. With a smile, I helped my sister-in-law up and said, "Sister-in-law, I don't hold a grudge against you. I feel sorry for Mom. We are all juniors, and naturally, the first bowl of porridge should be served to the elders. Otherwise, if others see this, they will say that we lack manners and upbringing, and that my brother can't teach his wife and dotes on his sister blindly. Mom, brother, don't you think so?" Seeing that I was no longer causing a commotion and my words were reasonable, they both felt somewhat embarrassed for a moment. Finally, it was my brother who stammered, "Little sister, what you said makes sense." I ate this breakfast with extreme displeasure, yet on the surface, I could only maintain a forced smile. After breakfast, my brother went to work. My mother recently found a part-time job as a salesperson in a supermarket. She has to stand for 7 or 8 hours a day and keep shouting ceaselessly. I felt a twinge of pity for my mother, but seeing her excited demeanor when she went out, I refrained from saying anything. Finally, only Wang Wan and I were left at home, but I remember that Wang Wan had a job. "Sister-in-law, don't you need to go to work? Your brother feels sorry for me and asked me to quit my job." After my brother and mother left, Wang Wan sprawled on the sofa, leaving a messy table, and said, "Don't just stand there, go wipe the table and wash the dishes." "Why should I?" "What do you mean why? I'm pregnant, I can't touch cold water, don't you know that?" As soon as my mother and brother left, Wang Wan revealed her true nature. Listening to Wang Wan's brazen words, I was so enraged that I laughed instead and said, "You asked me to withdraw from school and come back to serve you?" "Yes, Li Feng, so what if you're a college student? You still have to serve me. A technical secondary school graduate." I was too weary to argue with Wang Wan. I turned around and tidied up the dishes and chopsticks on the dining table and washed them in the sink. When I walked out of the kitchen, I saw Wang Wan taking pictures of me with her mobile phone, wearing a smug expression, as if she had me under her control. "What are you taking pictures for?" I rushed over and snatched her mobile phone. The phone screen displayed our family group. Wang Wan had just sent a video of me washing dishes and added a string of words praising me below. Then the phone vibrated. It was a message from my mother, accompanied by 2 thumbs up emojis. I sensed something amiss and wanted to exit the family group page, but the phone was snatched back by Wang Wan. She said, "Is this the behavior of a college student? Snatching someone's phone casually? Thanks to you, I'm no longer a college student, I'm just someone with only a high school diploma. Since she believed my withdrawal from school was a foregone conclusion, I went along with what she said. Yes, so you're not even as good as me. Wang couldn't help but cover her mouth and giggle. She seemed extremely pleased. Laugh to your heart's content. I want to see how long you can remain so complacent. In the afternoon, I went out and arrived at the place where Wang used to work, which was a beauty salon. When they were discussing marriage previously, my brother once mentioned that Wang worked here and had a monthly income of over 10,000 yuan. At that time, my brother was highly satisfied with her job when he mentioned it, so I always felt there was something fishy about Wang saying that my brother asked her to resign. As soon as I entered the store, the receptionist, thinking I was a customer, greeted me warmly. Hello. I would like to inquire whether there is a beautician named Wang here. I heard from a friend that her techniques are particularly excellent. Upon hearing my question, I noticed that the other person was evidently taken aback and said, Are you certain it's this name? We did have an apprentice named Wang here before, but her conduct was rather poor. She always stole products from the store. Perhaps I got the name wrong. I'm sorry. I'll ask my friend to clarify and come back another time. When I left the beauty salon, I glanced at the products displayed on the wall. Why did they seem so familiar? When I returned home, there was no one in the house. I entered my room and discovered that my things had been clearly rummaged through. I quickly rushed to open my makeup bag. Sure enough, a big brand necklace was missing. I opened the family group and was about to at Wang to question her, but then I thought that my brother and mother would definitely take Wang's side at that time. So I turned off the phone screen. Before my brother and mother came home from work, Wang returned. Seeing me at home, her hand that was taking off her high heels visibly paused, and she said with an unnatural expression, Why are you back? I looked at Wang. Besides her high heels, she was wearing a V-neck floral red dress, yet her neck was bare. I said calmly, You previously said that the aura of the elderly and cold water would affect the baby. How come wearing high heels doesn't have an impact? Feng, what you said your sister-in-law also wants to dress up presentably and not embarrass your brother. Where's my necklace? Necklace? What necklace? Why are you asking me about your things? Wang hastened into the bathroom and then closed the door. The sound of running water came from inside. It seemed that she was busy changing clothes and removing makeup. After all, my brother and mother would be home in less than half an hour. When Wang came out of the bathroom, she was already wearing a set of home clothes. She walked into the kitchen and started cooking. Oh, now she's pretending to be virtuous again. Leaning against the kitchen door, I said, Wang, my necklace. Wang simply pretended not to hear me. She poured the vegetables into the pot, and then there was a crackling sound of frying. Amid this noisy sound, she shouted loudly, What did you say? I can't hear you. Wang was feigning deafness. I didn't want to waste words with her. I went back to my room, took out my phone, and retrieved the surveillance record. On the first day I returned, I placed a camera in the corner of the room. I didn't anticipate that it would be used so soon. In the video, Wang entered my room without any scruples, opened my makeup bag, rummaged through it, and finally took my big brand necklace. With conclusive evidence, I wanted to see how Wang could still deny it. I was about to go to Wang with the video to confront her when, the next second, the door was pushed open roughly. I subconsciously put away my phone and looked at my brother, who entered angrily. Li's expression was extremely unpleasant. I looked up and said, Knock on the door before entering. Don't you know that? Li Feng, you were asked to come back to take care of your sister-in-law, not for us to treat you like a deity. Understand? What do you mean? Come out and see for yourself. I came to the living room and saw Wang sitting on the sofa, covering half of her face, and my mother was comforting her on the side. The look in her eyes when she regarded me was also filled with blame. But I clearly remembered that before entering the room, Wang was still cooking without incident. It was only 20 minutes between then and now. I couldn't help but frown and ask, What's going on? Your sister-in-law was splashed with oil while cooking. Just that? Mom, let me take a look. I studied medicine in college. Wang slowly removed the hand covering her face. I looked at the extremely faint oil mark and fell silent for a moment, presumably sensing what I was thinking. Wang sobbed. I was just worried about affecting the fetus. Come on, when she was wearing those 6-centimeter high heels, why didn't she think about being afraid of affecting the fetus? However, my mother and brother believed it wholeheartedly. My mother said, Feng, from now on, it will be arduous for you to cook. Mom, I can't cook. You might as well quit your job and come back to take care of your sister-in-law. I'll go out and find another job. My mother wore an expression of hesitation. I quickly added embellishments, saying, I'm far more intelligent than you. Surely I can earn more money and use it to subsidize the family in the future. Upon hearing me speak thus, my mother finally relented and nodded, indicating that she would resign the next day. Anyone can paint a rosy picture. I definitely won't let Wang have her way at night. I went to my mother's room and engaged in a long chat about family affairs with her. Eventually I said, Mom, my skincare products have been used up. Do you have any here? If so, please let me use them. Yes, your sister. In-law gave me a set before, and I've always been reluctant to use it. After saying that, my mother rummaged through the cabinet, and then took out an unopened box of skincare products, and handed it to me. This skincare product was precisely the same as the one I saw on the wall of that beauty salon. When I carried this box of skincare products back to my room, I happened to encounter Wang Wan, who was pouring water to drink in the living room. I brandished the skincare products in my hand and said, Sister-in-law, where did you purchase these skincare products? They seem rather excellent. I bought them at the place where I used to work. If you like them, I'll ask my former colleagues to bring you a few more boxes next time. At this moment, my brother emerged just in time and picked up the conversation, saying, See how kind your sister-in-law is to you. You must treat her well, understand? I watched as Wang Wan told lies without batting an eyelid. Since she had spoken thus, I couldn't let down her kindness. With a smile I said, Then I'll trouble you, sister-in-law, to obtain 3 more boxes of this kind for me. I want to give them as gifts. With my brother present, Wang Wan surely wouldn't dare to refuse me as expected. Wang Wan's complexion changed slightly, yet she still forced a smile and agreed, Very well. As far as I'm aware, this skincare product is the signature item of that beauty salon. Only their establishment has it, and there is no online sales avenue. I'm truly curious about what method Wang Wan, who has a previous record of misdeeds, will employ to procure 3 more boxes of such skincare products for me. Using the pretext of looking for a job, I can justifiably be absent from home during the day. There is a coffee shop opposite that beauty salon during the day. I crouched there to keep watch. However, after keeping watch for 2 days, I didn't catch sight of Wang Wan. That night at the dinner table, I tactfully reminded her, Sister-in-law, what about the skincare products you promised to bring for me? I've already boasted to our aunts and aunts that I would bring them wonderful things. Huan, you used to work so proficiently there. Obtaining a product should be quite effortless, right? Upon hearing that I was going to bring products for aunts and aunts, my brother's vanity flared up again. After taking a bite of the dish, he opened his mouth and spoke. I forgot these past 2 days. As the saying goes, a pregnant woman becomes forgetful for 3 years. I'm afraid I've already started to be forgetful. Wang Wan laughed it off and prevaricated. I buried my face behind the rice bowl and secretly chuckled. Finally, on the 3rd day, I spotted Wang Wan. I didn't see her at the beauty salon, but at the table adjacent to mine. After consuming an excessive amount of coffee, when I returned from the restroom, I saw the back of Wang Wan, who was splendidly dressed at a glance. Fortunately, she had her back towards me. I found a new position closer to the corner, and surreptitiously observed their every move. There was a man seated opposite Wang Wan, and he placed 3 boxes of skincare products on the table. Subsequently, Wang Wan said something, and he took out an item from his pocket. In the sunlight, that item sparkled. It was unmistakably my necklace. I took out my phone, opened the camera, and commenced recording them. The distance was too great, and I couldn't overhear what they were saying. I could merely see that Wang Wan seemed to be growing more and more excited. The man opposite hastily grasped her hand, as if to soothe her. I stared at their clasped hands, and couldn't help but feel as if my brother had suddenly donned a cuckold. After a short while, Wang Wan picked up the 3 boxes of skincare products, and left the coffee shop with the clicking sound of her high heels. And that man waited for quite a while after Wang Wan left before rising and entering the beauty salon opposite. After the man vanished from my sight, I quickly followed and greeted the receptionist of the beauty salon, saying, Hello, who is the man wearing glasses who just walked in? Oh, that's our doctor here. Can you provide me with a business card of his? I might make an appointment for his service in the future. The receptionist handed me a business card as soon as I stepped out of the door of the beauty salon. I took out my phone and searched for his account. The business card popped up. Looking at the man's profile picture, I always felt something peculiar. When I clicked it open, there was the man standing on the left, a woman with a beaming smile on the right, and a little girl who seemed to be in kindergarten in the middle. This was unmistakably a family of 3. I thought that Wang Wan's affair was already extremely outrageous, but I never expected that she had actually chosen a married man. What a fine taste, a toilet-like taste. When I returned home at night, 3 boxes of skincare products were already placed by the door of my room. I entered the room calmly and opened my makeup bag. The missing big brand necklace was still nowhere to be found. At dinner, I said, Thank you, sister-in-law. Wang Wan affected a modest smile and said, It's not a big deal when your makeup bag spilled today, and I helped you tidy it up. I noticed a necklace in it that looked rather nice, so I took it. You can just consider it as a gift to your sister-in-law. Just as I was about to speak, my brother continued, Your sister-in-law likes it. Just give it to her as a student. How much could a necklace be worth? Taking something without permission is theft. Moreover, that necklace was given to me by my childhood friend, and was worth nearly 10,000 yuan. Looking at the 2 of them playing off each other, I directed my gaze towards my mother. Because I was at home, my mother had been dining at the table these days, but I clearly noticed that she still only ate vegetarian dishes. Mom, that necklace was given to me by Xiao Xiao, and is worth nearly 10,000 yuan. My mother knew Xiao Xiao, yet she didn't hesitate at all and said, as a student, it's too ostentatious for you to wear such an expensive necklace. Let your sister in law wear it. Xiao Xiao's family is wealthy and won't care about this. Is it truly so? The last glimmer of hope dissipated completely at this moment. I put down my chopsticks and left the dining table with the words, I'm full. Behind me, my brother was still chattering non-stop. Look at her, she's just spoiled. Who is she showing her temper to? After all, he is my own brother, and I can't bear to see him being cuckolded at night. I sent him the video I recorded in the coffee shop during the day and didn't say anything more. I believe that as an adult, my brother still has basic judgment. However, after sending the video, for several days, my brother still didn't show any reaction. At the dinner table, the three of them still seemed extremely harmonious. As if I were the outsider, I still couldn't restrain myself and directly asked my brother, did you see the video I sent you? My brother suddenly slammed his chopsticks on the table and pointed at my nose and cursed. You still have the nerve to say it? Huan Huan said she was harassed. She is the victim. If it weren't for you insisting on these boxes of skincare products, would Huan Huan have endured this grievance? Now it's all my fault when he was actively involved in obtaining the skincare products to give to aunts and aunts before. He was also very enthusiastic. Wang Wan's eloquence is truly remarkable. She can turn a falsehood into a truth. Wang Wan tugged at my brother's sleeve and said, don't scold your sister, she also means well for you. Very well indeed. I gave my brother a resentful look, only hoping that he could still be as overbearing as he is now at that time. I've endured so much humiliation at home these days, and my mammary gland aches severely, so I went to the hospital to register. Perhaps fortune never abandons those in need in the hospital. I chanced upon Wang Wan and that plastic surgeon. This time I was in close proximity, and Wang Wan appeared rather flustered, raising her voice considerably. Wang Wan exclaimed, I can no longer endure staying in this household for even a single day. When on earth are you going to divorce your wife? Unlike Wang Wan's belligerent demeanor, the man across from her seemed somewhat timid, saying, soon, very soon. Such matters cannot be rushed. If you continue to dawdle like this, I'll be exposed. I had intended to have his sister come back to serve me, yet his sister has been causing me trouble daily. Don't we have the pregnancy report? You needn't be overly panicked. How can I not be panicked? My abdomen has remained flat all this time. It turned out that Wang Wan had been feigning pregnancy all along. But what was the purpose behind her feigned pregnancy? I recall my brother once stating that Wang Wan was from another region, and her hometown was in a village. Could it be? At this thought, I disregarded the registration I had just completed and hastened home. My mother was not at home. I dashed into her room and retrieved a plastic bag from beneath the mattress. Upon opening it, I found it was precisely our family's property ownership certificate. I opened the certificate, and the name inscribed on it was still my mother's. My father passed away early, and my brother lacked the means to purchase a house. Thus, he renovated this house and used it as their nuptial abode. I suspected that Wang Wan's feigned pregnancy was aimed at our family's house. I took the property ownership certificate back to my room and was on the verge of finding a concealed corner to hide it. At this moment, the sound of the door opening echoed from the entrance hall, followed by the clicking of high heels. However, in addition to the sound of high heels, there was also the sound of leather shoes. Fortunately, I had been in a hurry upon entering and hadn't changed my shoes, yet I crouched down and concealed myself in the wardrobe. I don't care, you must conceive a child with me here today, or I truly won't be able to account for it. Good heavens! Has Wang Wan brought her lover home? Subsequently, there was a faint sound of a zipper being opened, accompanied by the man's cautious query. Won't your mother-in-law return suddenly? No, I told that old hag that I fancied some pastries from a shop in the east of the city. Queuing for those pastries takes at least an hour. Help me unbutton. Listening to their voices, I wished I could instantly blind my eyes and deafen my ears. This was truly explosive. I took out my phone and silently messaged my brother. Brother, sister-in-law has fallen. Hurry back. I sent the same message 30 or 40 times in quick succession. At this moment, I truly loathed the location of my room. From here, I could clearly observe everything transpiring in the living room. Outside in the living room, that adulterous couple was still locked in an embrace, and the man's hands were restlessly groping about. Just as they were on the verge of taking further action, the door was flung open, and my brother's voice resounded. Huan Huan, are you all right? And his Huan Huan was lying on the sofa in a disheveled state, with a man on top of her. My brother's face instantly turned ashen, and he inquired, Wang Wan, what is the meaning of this? The plastic surgeon, overcome with guilt, attempted to rise from Wang Wan, muttering, Brother, it's a misunderstanding. Yet, He was yanked back by Wang Wan and pressed back onto her once more. She declared, "This is precisely what you see. Is she so audacious?" Not concealing it at all. I was astounded by Wang Wan's behavior of giving up completely. "Then the child you mentioned, isn't it mine?" My brother was so enraged that his teeth were nearly grinding. "What child? I was never pregnant with your meager 3-second performance. How could there possibly be a child?" One should refrain from listening to inappropriate words. "I'm truly sorry for inadvertently learning of my brother's private matter, Wang Wan. I'm filing for divorce." My brother was so furious that he could scarcely speak coherently, pointing at Wang Wan with one finger. It took him a long while to utter such a statement. "Divorce then, but this house is mine." "What?" "But I distinctly remember that only my mother's name is on the property ownership certificate." I opened the property ownership certificate and perused it carefully. As a result, I noticed a line of words in the corner. "Made in China, damn it. This is a counterfeit." Suddenly, there came a pounding on the door. It seemed that yet another distinguished guest was making a grand entrance. The sudden pounding on the door was like a sledgehammer, crashing forcefully onto the tense atmosphere within the room. It caused the three of them to freeze in place instantaneously, and not a single one dared to step forward to open the door helplessly. I had to take matters into my own hands. I quietly emerged from the wardrobe. When passing by Wang Wan and the plastic surgeon, I deliberately shielded my eyes with my hand, as if looking at them for one more second was a form of self-torture. Subsequently, I hastened forward to open the door and welcomed the woman at the door inside. The person who arrived was precisely the woman in the doctor's profile picture at this moment. The smile that had adorned her face in the photo was completely absent. In its place was a seething rage. She clutched a feather duster tightly in her hand, evidently having come prepared. When the plastic surgeon caught sight of his wife's appearance, he was so startled that he leapt up from the sofa, as if electrocuted. He shouted in a flustered manner, "Wife, it's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding." Ha! He truly is someone who constantly parrots the word misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? "Su Chong, pull up your pants first, and then talk to me." The woman's eyes blazed with anger, and the feather duster in her hand was like a bolt of black lightning, accurately striking the man's bare thigh. The plastic surgeon howled in pain and hastily pointed at Wang Wan on the sofa, attempting to shift the blame. "Wife, this woman seduced me." The woman followed the direction he indicated and saw Wang Wan wearing only a camisole. The anger in her eyes flared up even more instantaneously. She unhesitatingly lashed the feather duster towards Wang Wan. Wang Wan was unable to dodge in time and was struck squarely in pain. She immediately turned her head to look at my brother and shouted loudly, "Li Lei, are you still a man? Someone is assaulting your wife, and you're just standing there watching." My brother folded his arms across his chest and retorted coldly, "We're on the verge of divorce. You're no longer my wife." Seeing that seeking help from my brother was fruitless, Wang Wan, still not giving up, shouted at the doctor, "Fine, Su Chong. You heartless wretch, you repeatedly claimed that you would divorce and marry me. Were you lying all along?" I casually picked up a clothes hanger from the side and handed it to the doctor's wife, saying, "Sister, use this to strike. It'll be more satisfying." Simultaneously, I reached out and pinned Wang Wan, who was dodging about, onto the sofa, rendering her immobile and forcing her to endure the beating. "You people are ganging up on me. I'm calling the police to arrest you." Wang Wan struggled frantically like a mad woman. I slapped her crisply and angrily rebuked, "You secretly stole our family's property ownership certificate. This is a criminal offense, and you're well aware of it." Inspired by my own words, I had a sudden idea. While firmly restraining Wang Wan, I took out my phone and pretended to dial, "I'm calling the police right now. Let's see if the police side with me or you." Upon seeing this, Wang Wan panicked instantly, snatched my phone, and terminated the call. I stared down at her coldly and said, "Now you're afraid? Then return our family's property ownership certificate." The doctor's wife, gripping her adulterous husband, whose face was bruised and swollen, stood at my doorstep. She returned the deformed clothes hanger in her hand and said gratefully, "Thank you, sister. I'll buy you a new one next time." I smiled and waved my hand, saying, "No need, sister. This is what I ought to do. I'm also helping myself." After seeing them off, I turned and entered the house. There, I saw my brother standing in the living room, smoking one cigarette after another in sullen silence. Upon hearing my entrance, he said in a low voice, "Feng, I'm sorry." I simply pretended not to hear. His apology came so casually that I truly found it hard to accept. I directed my gaze at Wang Wan, who was sitting on the sofa with her face scratched messily, and demanded, "Where's our family's property ownership certificate?" "It's not with me," Wang Wan said in a low voice. "Then where is it?" Seeing her remain silent, I took out my phone again, pretending to make a call. Only then did Wang Wan reluctantly speak. "It's with one of my cousins." I reached into the bag beside me, rummaged out her phone, and threw it in front of her, ordering, "Call him and put it on speaker." Wang Wan operated the phone while stealing glances at my brother from time to time. "Hurry up, Wang Wan, don't dawdle." Soon, the call was connected, and the other party answered promptly, speaking affectionately. Hello, little sweetie, I was just about to look for you. And you called. We really have a telepathic connection. Upon hearing this, I understood something. No wonder Wang Wan kept looking at my brother, what normal cousin would call his cousin little sweetie. I glanced at my brother on the balcony. His back visibly trembled somehow. A strange sense of satisfaction welled up in my heart. How's the matter of the property ownership certificate going? Wang Wan asked. Little sweetie, I was just about to tell you I sold that necklace for 8,000 yuan. I wanted to bribe someone, but they refused to take it. What should I do? Wang Wan was momentarily at a loss for words. I quickly typed on my phone and gestured for her to read. It doesn't matter. Bring everything to me today, including the 8,000 yuan. Just put it under the doormat of my house. My mother-in-law has promised to take me to add my name to the property ownership certificate. Oh, why are you being so polite today? Don't you usually call her an old hag? Just leave it at the door. Aren't you going to invite me to sleep in your bed again, little sweetie? I saw my brother turn around abruptly, and the anger on his face was almost uncontrollable. Just as he was about to rush over and smash the phone to pieces, I quickly hung up the call. This Wang Wan is really something else. Wang Wan, little sweetie? I looked at her with a half smile. He's just my cousin. Don't think too much. In our village, people who are close call each other like this. Wang Wan was still lying blatantly. Does your village have a custom of inviting cousins to sleep in the same bed? Yes. Our village is just that open-minded. I suppressed my laughter beside her, almost bursting with it. You're all at home, Lei. You got off work so early today? At this moment, my mother returned, carrying the pastry she had managed to buy after queuing in the east of the city. Huan, I bought the pastries. They're freshly baked. Hurry and eat them. My mother placed the pastries on the coffee table in front of Wang Wan, and only then noticed her scratched face and messy hair. Oh, what happened? No, Lei, what are you doing? Why are you throwing my pastries? My brother strode over and swept the pastries on the coffee table into the trash. Kim, my mother cried out in distress. After all, she had queued for a long time to buy them. Just as my mother was about to reach out to pick them up, my brother stepped into the trash can and crushed the pastries. I silently thought in my heart, brother, you're really being a bit irrational in your anger. After that, my brother entered the room and slammed the door hard, leaving my mother looking bewildered. Phone, did they have a fight? My mother asked in confusion at this moment. The doorbell rang outside. It seemed that the sweetie brother had come to deliver the things. I opened the door and successfully retrieved the money and the property ownership certificate. My mother looked at the property ownership certificate in my hand, full of confusion. Wasn't this under my bed? I handed her the fake property ownership certificate with Made in China printed on it and said, You mean this fake one? Upon hearing this, Wang Wan knelt down in front of my mother with a thud, crying bitterly. Mom, I was wrong. I was just momentarily confused. You know, I've always been insecure. I'll never dare again. I added unhurriedly beside her. Mom, she didn't commit any major mistakes. She just had an affair as far as we know, with 2 men. One of them was just caught red-handed by my brother. She also secretly took our family's property ownership certificate and wanted to change your name to hers. Besides, she's not pregnant at all. She's been lying to you, but these aren't really big mistakes. Just forgive her. My mother closed her eyes in pain. After a while she said, Phone, where's my antihypertensive medicine? After my mother took the medicine, she gradually sorted out the ins and outs of the matter. Wang Wan was still kneeling on the ground, kowtowing continuously and pleading, Mom, please ask Li Lei not to divorce me, otherwise I'll really be homeless. You see how filial I've been to you usually. I looked at Wang Wan's tear-stained face and silently took out my phone, clicking on several voice recordings. No, I told that old hag that I wanted to eat the pastries from a shop in the east of the city. Queuing for those pastries takes at least an hour. Help me unbutton. It doesn't matter. Bring everything to me today, including the 8,000 yuan. Just put it under the doormat of my house. My mother-in-law has promised to take me to add my name to the property ownership certificate. Oh, why are you being so polite today? Don't you usually call her an old hag? Just leave it at the door. Aren't you going to invite me to sleep in your bed again, little sweetie? After listening to these, Wang Wan's so-called filial piety was clearly revealed. After listening, my mother said nothing. She forcefully pulled her hand out of Wang Wan's grasp on her clothes and turned to walk towards the room. The next day, my brother and Wang Wan went to handle the divorce formalities early in the morning. It was said that Wang Wan was dead set against it. She clung tightly to the door frame with both hands, and her 10 fingernails were ground until they bled. But my brother didn't show any mercy this time. He directly dragged her away. If only she had thought of this earlier. After getting the divorce certificate, my brother didn't even let her enter the house. He threw her things out of the door one by one. When I got up, Wang Wan was picking up the clothes on the ground with a wronged look. Seeing my gloating expression, she said hoarsely, Li Feng, what are you so proud of? You've dropped out of school. You'll end up as down and out as me in the future. Wang Wan was really stupid. She thought dropping out of school was something that could be settled with a phone call. I looked at her with a bit of pity and said, I didn't drop out of school. I asked the counselor for leave. I'll go back to school in a few days. Upon hearing this, Wang Wan's face instantly turned extremely ugly. She could only continue to pick up the clothes in silence, and finally left dejectedly. After experiencing this incident, both my mother and brother expressed their deep guilt to me learning that I hadn't dropped out of school. They were even more happy for me. Although there should be no estrangement among relatives, in this matter, they never stood by my side from beginning to end, which disappointed me greatly. I suddenly realized that only when something is firmly in one's own hands can one truly feel at ease. So, I asked my mother to add my name to the property ownership certificate, and also gave me a raise in my living expenses. As for my brother, he's a grown man. I believe he has the ability to work hard, and buy a house on his own. It can only be said that the world should stop spoiling mama's boys. Like this, they've spoiled my brother, such a grown-up person, into a fool. On the day I returned to school, I declined their offer to see me off, and walked briskly into the high-speed railway station. From then on, with a long journey ahead, I will be my own strongest support.